What is going on, everybody? Welcome to the Lore Reloaded. My name is James. I am your host today on the Lore Reloaded. I hope everyone is going well. Hey, if you're watching this video on demand, you know exactly what's about to happen. I'm about to throw a couple of things at you. If you haven't yet, definitely follow me at twitter.com/Lore Reloaded. If you would like to play some Twitch games, I'll probably be playing some Twitch tonight after this very live stream at twitch.tv/Lore Reloaded. With that out of the way, let's say hi to some people and just get into it. We got Arthur in the house. Fantax, hope you're doing well. Josh Street, Anthony Dukes. Let's see. Captain George is dead to me and get the hell off of my channel. Who else is going? DV is always in the house. Jeremy Shearer, Nathaniel Shade. Always a pleasure when Nathaniel is here. Of course, let's all die of dysentery, the channel motto, if you will. Paladin Demo, trying to track down the Ozark Mountain, Daredevil's latest album. Woot, Michael Leith in his house. Though I think, no, it's Captain George said to me. Michael Leith, you're not dead to me yet, good sir. You're not dead to me yet. So let's just get into it. Let's talk about it. What's going on, Bird of Prey 5? A patron of the Lore Reloaded. Always appreciate it. If you're watching this, don't forget to hit that like button. Let's just break this down. So, if you haven't seen it yet, what's going on, Jaeger Bishop? If you haven't seen it yet, this is going to be based off my latest video, which would be the one that came just before this one, which is named Lorecraft Death of the Prophets, Invasion of the Terran Empire. Now, I'm going to give a little bit of a breakdown just on the off chance you haven't seen it. But effectively what happens is we do a theory on what would happen if the Empire, the Terran Empire, had invaded the Alpha Quadrant. And Alpha and Beta Quadrant. And it's something I get a lot. A lot of people want to see the Terran Empire versus the versus Starfleet. And so I theorize the best way for the Terran Empire to get into the Alpha Quadrant would be through the Wormhole and the Paw Wraiths. If it is the Mirror Universe, then what we know as the Prophets would either be evil or the Paw Wraiths would be in charge of the Wormhole itself. So through magic and the power of plot, that would be how the Terran Empire gets in. Ultimately, the way it would have worked is they would have sent out a fleet through the Wormhole to cause issues with Deep Space Nine, a feint, if you will, and then a secondary fleet to Bajor just to wreck Bajor like it's no one's business, and start destroying population centers to force Starfleet to give up, to force them to immediately surrender. And from there, they would move to take the Cardassian territories and create a beachhead in Starfleet territory, and to create a beachhead in Federation territory. So my thoughts are, what are your guys' opinion on that? I know there were some issues. A couple of people didn't think or didn't like the fact that the Terran Empire would destroy the Starfleet vessels. My rationale, and I thought about that, because the smart thing to do, what's going on in Anonymous Squid, the smart thing to do would have been to take those vessels and get whatever information they could off of them. But we're talking about the Terran Empire, which for all intents and purposes, whether it's from the original series or Discovery, are mustache-twirling villains that have a real huge ego problem. And so I don't think they would take the vessels and try to get information for them, because they're the Terran Empire. They've never had to do that. They've defeated everybody they've come up against. So they would simply destroy the vessels and kill all the aliens that worked with the humans. So I'm open to conversation about that. Of course, the first part's already in stone, but we can also discuss where we think it would go and how it would work. Josh Street, how did the Terrans find the Wormhole in the first place? Well, they obviously found the Wormhole when they invaded Bajoran space, defeated the people who weren't faithful, but were all about hedonism, and met the Paw Wraiths, as I said, through the avatar of Benjamin Sisko, who was going to be the conqueror for the Paw Wraiths. And through them, we're able to then come into the Prime territory. Tyrannosaurus Rex says, since this is the mirror universe, instead of the paw race in the fire caves, it's the prophets in the fire caves, or dead in the mirror universe. Yeah, see, that's what I was saying. I mean, it could be the paw wraiths. Maybe it's just the prophets. And so, you know, however you want to do that. Because what are the prophets but the paw wraiths if they're evil? It's just a name by any other statute. What's going on, Admiral Saval? Daniel's hot topic. I heard Patrick Stewart may come on Star Trek Discovery Season 2. How would this happen? Probably Patrick Stewart. I love him. He's a great actor. I would love to get his autograph. If he agreed to be on Discovery, they either probably have his family and are keeping them as prisoners until he agrees to it, or he has unfortunately fallen into drugs, which are the only ways I would see him ever agreeing to be on Discovery. What if the Romulans were invaded by the Terran Empire, and the Romulans could be blind that Starfleet invaded their territory instead of the Terran Empire? That's interesting. That's an interesting way of doing it. I never even thought of that specifically. Especially if they made it look like, not just to the Romulans, but all to the other aliens, that they were a part of Starfleet. Obviously, Starfleet would try to deny this and whatnot, but that would be a great way to divide the alpha and beta quadrants together. I'm going to call it alpha quadrant for all intents and purposes because that's what the show does, even though we're talking about both the alpha and the beta quadrant. That might be something they still attempt anyway. Even with everything they've done, who's to say that the Romulans wouldn't sit there and assume that this is some kind of trick? I mean, you're talking about people who look like humans, act like humans, from the mirror universe. That all sounds kind of crazy. It sounds like something Starfleet would do to try to gain territory. Nathaniel Shade helping out the channel. Of course, as you guys know, this is how I keep this channel running. Thank you so much. He says, dollar bills, y'all. Let's all die of dysentery. That's going to be a new shirt within the next couple of days. And it's a new shirt coming out, it'll be on discount. And I'll let you guys know about it. But it'll probably have my avatar with the hashtag Let's All Die of Dysentery. It'll be awesome. I should use Anti-Trekker's avatar as well, since he steals everything of mine and makes my channel a constant joke. Daniel's hot topic says time travel, maybe sends the Enterprise E to meet Discovery, or maybe Discovery goes post Nemesis and meets the Enterprise E. Yeah, I mean, I have no interest. I wish they would just do what they said they'd do and just not lie. Lore Reloaded. Oh, darn. It's 2 a.m. and one of my fave fanfics just updated. Do I watch or read that? Difficult choice. What fanfic just updated for you, good sir? Whatever happened to the Defiant in the Mirror Universe? I would say the Defiant's still there. I'd say it's beefed up. Probably you would have more Defiants within the Mirror Universe than you would like Galaxy classes or anything like that. I think the Defiant would be a good response to any kind of rebellion or anything like that. I also had a interesting idea when it comes to the Borg, because a lot of people ask about the Borg, and my thoughts were this, and I don't know if this is too out there or too fan fiction-y, but it would seem like the Borg in the Terran in the Mirror Universe would sort of be like the cooperative that we see in Voyager. Maybe a species that helps the people who are dying or are poor or things like that. And when they bump up against the Terran Empire, when they meet the ISS Enterprise D, and the Enterprise realizes the capacity they have for this healing technology when it comes to the nanoprobes, when it comes to this, that, and the other. How sadistic would it be if the Enterprise D used technology to force the cooperative into a collective? And then it's like we saw in Warship Voyager, where they have every ship has its own Borg, and so every Terran Empire ship come standard with Borg that can be used to assimilate. Mr. Pete channels, shameless plug. I need 300 subbies giveaway. Rocking it out. How many you got right now, Mr. Pete? 216. So you're near there. I actually am subscribed to Mr. Pete channel. It's an interesting channel. One of the things is it's not as focused as most channels are, so he'll throw random stuff up there. It's kind of interesting. Does reviews and stuff. So that is a channel I'm actually already done. We got Laughable Larry, and again, thank you so much, Mr. Pete channel. Laughable Larry in the house. $5, rocking it out. Thanks for being awesome, Lord. You're seriously amazing. I'm here for you, Larry. Thank you. Thank you. And of course, Jeremy Shearer, my channel rock. No, my channel doesn't rock. You rock, Jeremy. You rock, good sir. Thank you. Did the Spock rebellion fail in your scenario? I would say it either failed or went into hiding. At this point, is what I would say. Honestly, I don't see how the Spock rebellion would have necessarily worked, given everything that he was up against and the power that you see behind the Empire, especially from Discovery. Even with the Constitution class, which would be one of the more powerful ships, I don't see it necessarily working out that way, if you ask me. I don't know. I mean, we can go through that. What I would like to see from Spock, the more I think about it, is for that to become the rebellion. The Klingon rebellion was crushed. It was crushed in Discovery when we saw the Emperor destroy the planet. And so the Empire, for all intents and purposes, goes unopposed for so long. Ultimately, Kirk comes around, talks Spock into it. The ISS Enterprise goes rogue, and then they have this, in the background, this rebellion that they're having to fight. George, you're still dead to me until you let go of these anti-Trekker jokes, good sir. Dead, sir. Dead. Daniel's Hot Topics. Laura, can you talk about the John Favreau Star Wars live action TV series and talk about what you would like to see and who you would like to see the villains to be? I'm not even sure I'm aware of what you're talking about. So I guess I'm going to have to look that up, and then we can talk about it after that. So they're doing a live action Star Wars. That's an intriguing proposition. Emperor Palpatine, George didn't ban you. He wouldn't do that. What if the Federation called to the Dominion to get rid of the Terran Empire, but would the Terran Empire's firepower would match the Dominion's firepower? So the interesting thing about the Dominion here, though, is the wormhole. In this scenario, the Pah-wraiths have gained control, or the Prophets have gained control of the wormhole. So we're going to have to deal with that. I would like to include the Dominion, and I have a couple of ideas on how to do that. I'm still trying to flesh it out a little bit. What I do try to do, now it's solid fan fiction, I'll admit that, but I try to make it based on if I was going to be a writer, an actual licensed writer putting it together. I'm not trying to do something that how I would want it to go, but how I would write it if I was licensed to do so, and to stay true to the history and the theme. You know, that's how I would, and to do that, you have to take a couple of things into account. I do think that Sisko's still alive, and he was with the Prophets when they attacked. This is base after the Dominion War, and he was there. And so I think there's a lot to it. Now, going back to the Star Wars live action thing, I don't know how they do it, and I don't know if it would ruin it for me if I saw a live action. But I'd love to see Ahsoka in there. But they'd have to do it justice, and it'd have to be Ahsoka as we know her, right? But that's just me. That's what I would like to see. Let's see. Hybrid Jack. The only reason Alpha and Beta Quadrants were able to survive the Dominion War was because of wormhole alien magic. The Empire is as strong as the Dominion. They're going to run and get hegemony quickly. A lot of people hate the way I say hegemony. Or hegemony. Hegemony is how I'm going to say it from this point on. Hegemony. I don't know. I mean, we're gonna have to think that out. I mean, it is possible in this scenario that I don't see a way for Starfleet or for the Alpha Quadrant to win. It's possible that the Terran Empire could ultimately defeat all of them. I think it's a tall task given what's already occurred and how they're going to work with it. Now, there are a couple of things when you consider it, though. Starfleet, Starfleet would be militarized at this point. Starfleet would be pretty battle-hardened. So the Terran Empire isn't going to be able just to walk all over them, right? Captain George says you want Ahsoka. I do want Ahsoka. She's the best character in Star Wars. I mean, seriously. If they knew what they were doing, Ahsoka would be in everything. She's a fan favorite. I mean, seriously, not having her in everything is as stupid as the entirety of Discovery. Daniel's Hot Topics. Oh my gosh, Lord, did you see the new Star Trek Online mission called Victory is Life? It has DS9 in there, and Odo returns as the leader of the Dominion. I, in fact, played it on twitch.tv/Lore Reloaded either yesterday or the day before. You should join my Twitch and hang out with me while we play it. We have fleet operations all the time. Am I the only one who wants a spin-off dealing with the Sulu family? Like, you are the only one. Terran Empire would send the Dominion back home with a bruising. I do think that the Terran Empire would be on par with the Dominion. Of that, I would completely agree with you. I think that a Terran Empire versus Dominion, which is what I'm thinking about doing later, would probably ultimately end with a Terran Empire victory. The only reason the Dominion was stopping them was because the Starfleet never hit first, not really, and they didn't prepare for war. They were explorers, or at least they lied to themselves and got a lot of people killed while doing it, by the way. So yeah, good way to bring in the, already talked about that. Terran Empire rules. I think they could beat the Dominion in any war. Terran Empire is how Starfleet should be. Conquer and expand. That would drastically change how the Terran Empire, or how Starfleet works. The entire genre would change if we did that. Aussie NF, I think the Dominion beats the Terrans. I would be interested to know how you think the Dominion beats the Terrans. What specifically advantages would they have? When did the Terran Empire of the Invasion Prime verse? What? By the way, welcome to who just joined. Becoming a lore master. Only a Black Crusade would have more firepower and also the ruinous powers. We're talking about Warhammer 40k. Lore Reloaded. Yeah, Starfleet may be militarized, but the entire Empire is dedicated to military conquest and dominated several quadrants. No matter what, the Federation can't say this. No matter what, the Federation can't say the same. Of that, I would agree. The only reason I give pause to a complete Terran Empire stomping is, first off, you do have to ultimately consider the other empires would join in, if not to help fight on their own fronts. But the Starfleet's biggest advantage, beyond the resources that they have, is their ingenuity. Their engineers. The engineers have always been able to win the day. They've tacked or magicked their way out of most scrapes. And so I would be very, I would be very interested to continue and see where this goes. Emperor Palpatine, how do you feel about Anti-Trekker making a character of you in Star Trek Online? I can tell you it's definitely not getting old to hear about how I'm constantly attacked on the Anti-Trekker channel. It's definitively not worn out its welcome. Especially when he was a part of my fleet and decided to make his own fleet to poach off of people in my fleet. It's not getting old at all. At all. Don Juan, I wonder how many Terran ships have cloak. Imagine an entire fleet of advanced Starfleet ships with cloak. Would it even be a challenge? It would be like the Romulan scimitar. She's a predator. Wonder if Terran ships have cloak. Well, the Terran Empire does have cloak. We know that definitively for a couple of reasons. We know that because of what was it? Was it the Xindi? Didn't the Xindi have cloaks? And they got that cloaking technology in Enterprise. Additionally, the Klingons with their invisibility screens were dominated and taken by the Terran Empire. So and we know they, or we don't know, but we can assume that they take the technology and use it. It's the only explanation for the Palace ship and why things work. And again, I think we have evidence. I think we have strong evidence about that they use cloaking technology. Because if you look at the Palace ship, it wasn't detected by the Shinzu. The ISS Shinzu didn't detect the Palace ship or the missiles or the ordnance that destroyed that planet. The only explanation for that is the use of a cloaking system. Laura, would you like to see a Star Trek series set after Nemesis that had the Terran Empire slowly invade the Federation from inside and would slowly corrupt the Federation from within? That would be interesting. Talk to you later, Michael Leith. That would be interesting, but I don't think that it's realistic. I don't think that the Terran Empire would do that. They're all about might makes right, not subterfuge. And it may have been the Suliban. You're right. That sounds right. The Xindi doesn't sound right. The Suliban sounds right. Hybrid Jack. So it's going to come down to, will the Empire be willing and able to fight a possible war of attrition? Can the Empire even survive that? It's not like the Dominion, no fanatical loyalty. The infighting would be a huge issue as well. I agree. The problem is would Starfleet be willing to do a war of attrition, and could, well, Starfleet could, because they have all the resources. Again, because I did it in the Bajoran Empire, the Bajoran space, and I had them take Cardassian space, they're still in resource poor location. And so they're going to have to constantly continue to get resources coming through the wormhole. So that's interesting. By the way, if you want to see the avatars, if you want your own avatar below, then all you really have to do is go to twitch.tv/Lore Reloaded, follow me over there, and comment in the chat, and you'll actually see them. Even though we're on YouTube, you'll actually see them down here. And you can have them fight each other and stuff as well. You have to do it over on Twitch, but you can actually fight them. So if you want to do that, you still have to stay here to watch me, but you can have your avatars there. Isn't the Terran Empire a gigantic time bomb with loads of subjective species? I think they launched a massive invasion anywhere. They'd face a huge uprising with so much of their military away. It depends on how they handle it. The Tarkin Doctrine. The way the Tarkin Doctrine works is that the threat of overwhelming versus overwhelming itself, right? So if Terran Empire at least gave the opinion, or gave the not the opinion, but they looked like they would still be there and still could destroy whatever they wanted, then people might stay subjugated, even if they're fighting this war. I mean, how they're not going to exactly broadcast a weakened state, right? So they make it look like they have their massive fleet still there, and ultimately would at that point try to continue forward. By the way, the reason we're not seeing it is probably because people are following me over on Twitch. Thank you so much. But yeah, if you talk, you got to talk in the chat as well. But once you do that, you'll start to see an avatar down there. And you can do stuff like if you do kick or things like that. Federation infiltration operations would probably be common ploy for Starfleet. That might be something. That might be interesting, in my opinion. Yeah, I don't know. Emperor Palpatine. Sorry if the anti-Terran jokes have worn out. They're welcome. It's only fun over there. Nobody actually... Everybody hates me, Emperor Palpatine. Everybody hates me over there, and I hate my life, and I'm definitely not being sarcastic or coming back at you or pointing it out. I'm shutting down the entire channel, and it's all going away. All of it, Emperor Palpatine. By the way, you didn't have to give me a super chat for that, brother. Let me know if you want the money back, because you could have said that. You didn't have to give me $5 for that. Let me know if you want it back. I'll refund it to you. Well, I hadn't considered the Terrans would use the Tarkin Doctrine. That's actually pretty intelligent. Well, look at Discovery. It seems like that's what they do in Discovery. What did the Emperor do to the Klingon homeworld? Spoilers. 3, 2, 1. She annihilated the Klingon homeworld. She just completely base Delta Zeroed it, or whatever they call it in Star Wars, right? I don't think they probably have the resources to do that all the time. And so when the Terran Empire shows up, they just show up with a lot of ships. And if they can constantly do that, if they continually do that, then I think that would be something that would create fear in people. So yeah, I mean, there's no alpha canon necessarily. It is reading between the lines, but it seems to make a lot of sense, especially in how they act, how they react, how things work. So, I mean, I'm open to your conversations or thoughts on that, but I really think that's their operation. Especially when you can consider, looking at Discovery more than anything else, one-on-one, the ships don't seem to do the best on their own. And so when they hunt in packs, which make them even more devious, you know? So, I mean, what are your guys' thoughts on that? Let's see, who was it? Emperor. Oh, wow, someone just kicked me. Why you gotta kick me, Admiral Saval? What's up with that? The Terran Empire's strength came from its brutality and ruthlessness, yet they do tend to get overextended on resources. As for the Dominion, they're near unlimited manpower. Well, yeah, that's what happens when you clone people. Does the Terran Empire have the same ship schematic ideas or the same motivations? So one of the things that I think is a valid criticism is that if the mirror universe is so different, is so apart, then how do they have the same ship designs? And I guess really the only way that you would see for the ship designs to... That's honestly a hard one to work with. Why would the ship designs be the same? Especially when they get the Defiant, a 23rd century during the 21st. Right? So I don't think that's a stupid or dumb question. It's just one that's harder to answer. What's going on, Andrew Close? Emperor Palpatine, you still here, buddy? Starfleet ships are superior to Terran Empire ships. Don't know that I agree with that. Enderman, when you take a look at Terran Empire ships, at least in Discovery, they are loads, like so much more sophisticated. But they also, Terran Empire also has the added advantage of having 23rd tech during the 21st century. They have the added advantage of enslaving and stealing the technology from all of the other empires, from the Romulan Star Empire, from the Klingon Empire, from wherever, right? And so I would think that the upkeep of them would probably be harder and the understanding of them would probably be harder. But I would say Terran Empire ships are the match. I'd say they would be the match, or they would be even stronger. You know? Finally got to check in on Discord and realized you were streaming. Well, that's fun. Star Trek Discovery isn't canon. Don't even start on that. It is according to CBS and Paramount, you know, the intellectual property holders and the ones who get to say what is canon and what is not. I'm not streaming on Twitch, Bad Wolf Gamer. I'm streaming on YouTube. Plot twist. The mirror universe only exists for the few hours or days someone from the Prime Universe is there. Yeah, they got to be thinking about it. It's like a dream. Hey, Laura, would you, after this new series, ever do a Terran Empire versus the Borg? Yeah, I mean, if enough people are interested. One thing not taken into account is that the Terran Empire subjects would never give their best effort, so many things they have would be made substandard and prone to failures. Why do you think that they're never giving their best effort? What about that makes you think that? I suppose it's easy enough to suppress rebels. The moment there's an uprising, have a pre-planned bomb on an alien's capital world detonate and destroy the entire planet. Yeah, I mean, you can inspire people to rebellion with that, but there's other ways of suppression too, like the carrot and the stick, which is what I think they did with. It's what I think they honestly did with the Vulcans. I think they gave the carrot to the Vulcans after the Vulcans turned and decided to just go with the flow. And they used the stick on anyone who wasn't going to be there. Yeah, if you want to see your... So if you want to see your icon down here, I'm going to get it working for YouTube. I just haven't yet. But if you want to see it working down here, all you need to do is go over to twitch.tv/Lore Reloaded, talk in the chat, just say something in the chat, and then it'll appear after a few minutes. And if you guys actually, once this gets done, once I get done over here, I'm going to go play on Twitch, and so we can actually just have fun over there as well. Lisa Simpsons have the quote for that statement. Okay. Agony booths are very motivating. Agony booths are motivating. I agree. Discovery aside, Terran ships seem the same as Federation ships, but outfitted with greater focus on combat. They also have cloaking technology and other captured tech. Of that, I would agree, Wolfram. In fact, I don't hate Discovery technology or the way Discovery works. I don't mind the Palace ship either. The Palace ship has a very decidedly Romulan feel to it, which would make sense. I think they're bigger ships, the better ships, when they go outside of the norm. Those types of ships would begin to reflect the technologies they're stealing. Discovery, just because it's Discovery doesn't mean it sucks or doesn't do some things right. Discovery had some good ideas and some good things they put in there. Oh, and the Terran Empire likely treats loyal planets well, like Risa is there in both universes and Pleasure World, and they saw no reason to blast them. You know, interestingly enough, it'd be curious to see if they were prudes, though based on the way they dress, I doubt that's the case, especially when you look at Lorca. So probably not the case. Why would the Terran Empire make galaxy ships? They're far more. They're more for the Federation rather than a warring empire. In theory, in yesterday's Enterprise, the Galaxy D was a pretty powerful warship, and so I don't think it's a good design if you're going to war. Of that, I would agree, but it's the Galaxy D can be pretty powerful. The only problem is that if you have any Klingon bird of prey that exists anywhere, then you have a problem. Hybrid Jack, I do think it's unreasonable to say that slave labor is inherently flawed for evil empires. The Nazis made disturbingly good use of slave labor to effectively produce products. So we're not going to get too much down this rabbit hole, but I will say this, and it's been consistent, at least in the real world. Nations that have had slaves ultimately had issues both for the slave owners and the slaves. It generally was a negative for everybody when slave labor was involved. And that's any type of slave. Whether you have United States, horrific Civil War slave labor, whether you had slave labor in Africa, slave labor in England, or what happened with the Scots and things like that, it's never worked out. And it's never been well. You've seen a negative impact across the board. So I would agree, at least in the real world, slave labor doesn't work as well as people would think it does. And I'm not convinced. I guess the Terran Empire would have slave labor, but from what we see, all of their military, I might be wrong on this, but I think all of their military is human, which aren't slaves. There might be a hierarchy there, but they're all human. Well, no, that's not correct, because in Discovery, they may all be human. In the original series, they had aliens. Interestingly enough, this whole xenophobia thing, you can't even see it in the original series Mirror Universe. You can't... I went and rewatched it because I did a breakdown of the Terran Empire, and I watched the original series Mirror Universe episode. There is no indication that they were xenophobic at all. In fact, there's indication that they weren't. But that all changed in Enterprise. That all changed in Deep Space Nine, and it definitively changed in Discovery. Enderman of Doom, unpopular opinion. The most attractive woman in the Mirror Universe is the Enterprise D. You know, the fact that Anti-Tracker didn't choose the Enterprise D is a travesty. It is a travesty, good sir. Are Terran engineers not as innovative as their Prime Universe counterparts? I don't think they are. I don't think they are at all. I think that they, first off, they have to deal with mishmash of technology, and they don't have to be as ingenuity. They don't have to have as much ingenuity. I think that they would have become lax because of all the damage or all of the overarching control. Once you're in power, you slowly start to become weak, in my opinion. Nathaniel, Galaxy could be good for war if made for it. More armor, ground troops instead of families, more weapons, Terran Empire style. So there's an interesting thing, and I agree. Make the Galaxy D a troop transport. Just a very powerful troop transport. Maybe a command operations. So you don't have too many of them. They're the most powerful for their time period, and that's where you have the admirals and such to conduct war. And it kind of works like a carrier or something like that, where it has support ships and everything. And really, it's just when you really want to go to a fight. It's command and control. And I think, honestly, the Enterprise probably in the Prime Universe really works like command and control anyway. According to Anti-Tracker, your opinion is invalid because you aren't sentient. Thank you for agreeing with me about the D. Okay. Hey, nice to see you. Just got here. Welcome. Hey, everybody. All right, everybody, chill out. Everybody relax. Jackson Kennedy is here. The party can start. By the way, we got 81 people watching, only 33 likes. What's up with that? Hit that like button. We got to at least have 82 thumbs up or thumbs down. Tommy Wiseau should make a good emperor for the Terrans. Yeah, that's going to be in it. That's going to be in part 2. Part 2 of the invasion has Tommy Wiseau as the emperor. But I said empress to throw off everybody. But Tommy Wiseau is the emperor. That's confirmed. That's canon now. That is completely and consistently canon, and you can't take that back. No taking it back at all. Wouldn't the Imperial Galaxy class be the X refit, as seen in his Good Things, with a cloaking device and a blade of armor? I mean, that's a good point. It could be. I'd still think that it would be command and control, and I still think that it would be kept in the background. So, I do think I was off the mark. So, let me... if the Anti-Tracker milks your fame, LMA. Let me say this. And I don't know if Emperor Palpatine is still here. I hope he is, because I was just... It can get a little old when I constantly hear over and over. But I really like Anti-Tracker, and I don't mind that he brings it up or uses me in avatars or whatever. We're like brothers and stuff like that, so I really don't care, ultimately. And I think he needs to have 10 times the subscribers he has. But it can get a little grating, but overall I don't care. And I was joking more than anything today. Like Captain George. I don't hate Captain George. I like Captain George. Captain George is cool. Captain George, wait. We was waiting on Jackson Kennedy? Well, I already got into the fruit punch. Now I don't like you anymore, Captain George. It's gone. It's gone now. What about making one with dual deflector dishes, but have one of the deflectors dedicated to a beam weapon that they did in part 2? Yeah, the problem with that is that it burnt out all the systems. It completely destroyed... Not completely destroyed, but it made it... it made it so it was not usable, you know? And so I don't know that you could do that, because you would just, it's basically a one hit, and if you miss or there are more than one enemy, it's not worth it. As a nation dedicated entirely to war, can the Empire have proper, powerful carriers, unlike in the Federation, where they're just mentioned once? I wanted to hear about the mass ship swarming. I think they could. I don't like the way the Terran Empire is. I think you can have an evil empire that doesn't have people that kill each other all the time. In fact, I think evil empires would probably really stamp down on that. Killing anyone that's a part of the empire would get you in a lot of trouble. But I do think that they could continue to still build and continue to still do what is appropriate and what is accurate. And what continues to help the empire grow. Now, someone asked it again, John Phillip, and I thought I answered it, but I'll try again. Are Terran engineers not as innovative as their Prime Universe counterparts? I don't think they are. To answer your question, do they just acquire and reverse engineer the tech? Based on what we see in Discovery and in Enterprise, it looks like they don't even reverse engineer some of it. They just take it and they hook it up to their ship and just let it work at that point. And so I also think that once the Terran Empire gets so big, they start to become lazy. I mean, why do you have to innovate when everybody's under your heel? That's what happened with the Dominion, in my opinion. The Dominion was always top dog. The Dominion had this powerful technology, and then when they bumped up against the Federation, and the Federation began innovating, they couldn't deal with it. They didn't have the engineers because they didn't need them. And so that's a part of why they lost, in my opinion. They would need to make a lot of babies in the Terran Empire. Well, I mean, given how they dress, I do think that they would. Imagine a Galaxy class made with modular weapon mounts on the oversized saucer, say rotary pulse cannons. Who needs maneuverability while you can track everything around you? Well, that's an interesting point, Bionic Gorilla, because when you look at the way the Enterprise fights anyway, it's basically like that. The Enterprise isn't as maneuverable. I don't think the Enterprise is as maneuverable as people like to think that it is. You know? I think that the Enterprise is a behemoth, and when we watch it fight, the way it's constructed and the phaser banks are meant to just hit in any direction. And so I don't think it's as powerful as people think. Terrans should use advanced drones, would be good in carriers. I agree. Let's see, there was one I missed. I think the mentality of the Terran Empire wouldn't allow big research projects. New powerful technologies are probably jealously guarded. Kirk didn't share his kill TV. Yeah, and I think that, again, if we're killing everybody to gain a one-up, that they would constantly be worrying about that. Now, with Stamets, we see him put together some pretty powerful stuff and create some very powerful technologies. But you see the problem in that when they, spoilers, in 3, 2, 1, when they kill evil Stamets just to kill him. And if you kill scientists off like that, you're not going to innovate. And that's kind of my problem. That's what I think. I have a suggestion of prototypes that Starfleet could create for their desperate time of war in this scenario. Look up the Premonition class. Okay. So that's interesting, Bad Wolf Gamer. Terrans would be better as a Commonwealth. Why would Terrans be better as a Commonwealth, I ask you, good sir? The Enterprise, though, had families on board and civilians, but would Terrans have the same policy? No, the Terrans would definitively... I don't think there would be a lot of civilians anyway. I think that probably if you're a human in the Terran Empire, it works... you're forced to go into the military and fight, honestly. Combat is a weak point with Trek. Capital ships only. Fighters are only training vehicles. They do have fighters, and we see fighters in Deep Space Nine, but they're never done well, and they're never done right. The Akira class was, in theory, supposed to be a fighter, and that never came around. And so I'm not, you know, they never do well with that. I agree. Let's see. Yeah, but it's rather rare that a single scientist on its own invents genius weapons. Even Werner von Braun needed quite his entourage to build his rockets. Sure. I don't disagree, but again, that goes back to the point that everybody's still trying to kill everybody, and I don't think people could play nice together. I don't think that's how evil empires work, just so we're all on the same page there. I don't think that's how it works at all, and I don't think that's how it should work. But that's what they try to portray to us. That's what they try to say, you know, this is the way it is. And I don't think it is. I think that's unfortunate. I wonder what the Terrans would think about the humans in the Federation. Would they see them as equals because they are still human, or as inferior and soft and weak? Any alpha candidate? I wonder what the Terrans would think about the humans. Is there alpha canon to that? The closest we would have would probably be Discovery. And a lot of that, would be probably be Discovery. And they do kind of portray them as weak, but the problem is that a lot of the interactions between Terran Empire and Starfleet is Terran Empire and Michael Burnham, who is the god of all gods. And so, I don't know. Other than the Peregrine Fighter, name 4 different fighters. So you have the Peregrine Fighter 2, the Maquis Raider, Raider 2, and then the Bajoran Fighter. Boom! You don't sit here and come to the lore master and don't expect him to know about it. It's in the name. Master of the lore. Oh, yeah. What do you think about the Rhode Island class? I haven't done enough research into it, honestly. The Defiant class is an interesting one. The Defiant class is basically a pocket battleship, in my opinion. Not really a battleship, but a pocket. It is a capital ship, quote unquote, with the abilities of a starfighter. When do we get a video called "The Sentient Starships Explained"? Well, Enderman, I'll tell you what. I do actually have a tier. By the way, welcome 10E, becoming a lore master. I do actually have a tier on my Patreon, which you can request videos. So if you'd like to join that tier, I can have it up next month once patrons go through. If not, I'll throw it in the hopper. Though I don't. When do we do a video called? Do you want me to like not Firefly? What's it called? Like a Farscape? Because they have sentience, right? Yeah, I don't know. I'd have to research that. I think they have alive ships in Star Trek, but I'd have to look. Would you count the Delta Flyer as a fighter or a shuttle? I'd count it as a shuttle. The Romulan Empire was evil. They tended to offer lots of carrots to Romanize new people, but would use legions if needed to break resistance. So a good model for the Terrans. It was supposed to be... It was supposed to be that way. It was supposed to be the Roman Empire never fell, and so the Roman Empire continued on, and that's what the Terran Empire was. In fact, it was taken out of the script, but the what's the word I'm looking for? The Terrans were supposed to be polytheistic. They were supposed to have gods. And by the way, if you guys are watching this, 80 people watching, only 55 thumbs up. Come on, 2 thumbs down? We need more of both, people. More of both. Have you heard of the Sentry class? I don't think so. Let's see. It would have been more interesting if in DS9 the Empire had changed more to the Andromeda Commonwealth from the veteran-centric Imperial Empire and into some sort of democratic monarchy. I just don't like where they went with it. Even if they wanted... I don't think they should have destroyed the Terran Empire. I think they should have had a civil war and then did everything they did there, but just a civil war between Spock's rebellion and the Terran Empire. I don't know. The anatomy of sentient starships from my fanfic. Yeah, I'd have to first read your fanfic. Well, I may have. I don't know if it's yours I've read or not. I'd have to reread if I haven't. And then go from there. By the way, guys, if you're watching down here and you see all these people, all these fun avatars, you too can get a fun avatar. Go to twitch.tv/Lore Reloaded. Follow me there. Talk in the chat, and you'll see it appear down here. I am doing it for YouTube as well. I just haven't gotten it taken care of. They mentioned the idea of gods in Enterprise. Do they? Because I thought it was removed. I don't remember that. How was the Roman Empire evil? They brought civilizations around Europe? Or do you think that reading, bathing, good food, etc. are all bad things? Evil empires can do great things for people. The Nazis, you know, this makes people mad every time I say it. The Nazis did a tremendous good initially for Germany. So evil empires can initially do a lot of good. I do agree that the Roman Empire, the way it treated any non-Roman citizen, was pretty horrific and barbaric. But you know, it's still, they did a lot of good. And unfortunately, the Dark Ages, quote unquote, was when we lost all of the Roman Empire's technology. Because we would be leagues above where we are, if not for that. That sounds a lot like a dissected OMA in their starfighting. Okay. The Roman Empire brought a lot of stability in the Mediterranean. Their downfall was the downfall of all of Europe, and it took almost a millennia to Europe to get back on track. I don't know that it took a millennia. It took a while. I don't know that it took a millennia. And this got demonetized. Yeah, that's exactly what I said, Anti-Trekker. I definitely said that. Hey, don't you got to go, Anti-Trekker, don't you need to start up another live chat, or I'm sorry, live stream, so you can continue to poach people from my fleet as well as Fearmonger? Don't you got another video to do, buddy? 'Cause that's weird. Figured you'd have another video. I believe Picard once said in The Next Generation Season 1, guards are no longer necessary, but people are free to do as they wish. Please, no. No, Bionic Gorilla, at no point. He may have said gods are no longer necessary, but at no point would Picard in The Next Generation ever say, but people are free to do as they wish. Picard hates religion. There are two things you can be absolutely sure of. Two things. The first is, Picard is going to drink his tea, his Earl Grey, and he hates religion. He absolutely cannot stand it. He would not say that. In 1,000 years, he would not say that. That is how everyone acted back then. If you were not part of the tribe, you were going to be treated badly. But also, Romans let you join up with... Everybody else was doing it. I mean, everybody else was killing. Everybody else was killing everybody else. It's how it is. It's just what happens. If people decide to join my fleet, that is their choice. But in fact, my fleet is led by Lore Reloaded. Yeah, I know. I think it's cute. And it's not getting old at all that you're continuing to mock me. But that's okay. I mean, you're not the only channel that gets subscribers because they attack me. So I mean, I'm used to it by now. Well, I don't think that Nazis really... Oh no, it's Captain George and Anti-Trekker are here. Everyone follow them and leave Lore destitute and internet penniless. That's going to happen. That is true. That is true. Anti-Trekker, let me ask you this, if you're on, in all seriousness. What was I about to ask you? What, I think we've already talked about this, but in the original series, The Mirror Universe, do you think that there was any xenophobia or hatred of aliens? Because I think that was something added by Enterprise, honestly. And I don't like that. What are your thoughts on that? I'm curious. I can let you on if you want, Anti-Tracker. Just let me know. I'll hit you up on Discord. But how do you like with them going? How do you like them going the xenophobic route in Enterprise? At Lore Reloaded, wait, I have a theory. If there's ever a one-on-one starship battle, they should launch all armed shuttles and fighters. I would agree. Lobster11, what's going on, good sir? Hope you're doing well. No, in fact, Vulcans commanded massive respect. Yeah, see, that's what I'm saying, Anti-Tracker. That's my point. You have to almost do jump hurdles to make the original series make sense after Enterprise. And especially into Discovery. But Enterprise, if we're being honest, Star Trek Enterprise is where that started. And not only that, there's nothing in the episode that leads me to believe that it was xenophobic. So, I don't know. Today, and Anti-Trekker, do me a favor. You can't do it or you'll get banned. But it doesn't have to be Anti-Trekker. Whoever, send me your Discord, Anti-Trekker, if you want to. And it has to be, don't do it here because you'll get banned. And I'll share it so people can join it too. Because for those who don't know, Anti-Trekker actually has his own Discord too. At Lore Reloaded, today and in the future we know that we are safe, but back then violence was the only way of the world. If you didn't live by the sword, you would die by it. Oh, okay. It doesn't at any point make any of it okay. I'm not going to get into this debate with you though. It doesn't make it okay. And there were other ways around it, I think. Let's see. Spock was still first officer in the Terran Empire, so the alien still had some sway. Yeah, I mean, he was in fact one of the good ones, if you ask me. Make the Prime Lorca make the Empire moderate again. Oh, Captain George can give it to you. I'm at work right now. Okay. Yeah, Captain George, send it to me via Discord. And if you're okay with an Anti-Trek, I'll share it so people can go. But yeah, we're probably going to be ending this soon, and I'm going to go over to Twitch. It's going to take about 5-10 minutes, but I'll be over at Twitch, and we'll be playing, probably do some fleet operations for those who are interested. If you're in the fleet, it'll be first come, first served. But if we don't have enough people, then anyone who can come wants to come. There's the Anti-Trekkers Discord for anyone who wants to join it. What do you call the most loved to hate evil organization? Answer. You guys are bad. Do you know the Achilles class? I do know the Achilles class, in fact. Time has flown in this stream. What do you... Okay, Sith, we're done with the jokes, good sir. We're done with the jokes. Agree, James, but you have to see not from here we look at things, but how things was. I'm not going to get into a debate with you. I understand what you're saying, and it makes sense. That's why when you look at a period of time, you have to understand that there is a certain... that's how it was done back then. However, the Romans, while adding a lot of technology and increasing... progressive policies in a way, were still huge oppressors that killed thousands to hundreds of thousands of people unnecessarily. And I believe it's called Pax Romana, was one of the most horrific ideals to put upon people. In fact, I think that a good example, and this isn't to speak to whether whether the religious aspect of it is true or not, but I think if you want to look at how Rome oppressed a people, I think you could look no further than how Rome was portrayed in the Bible. Of which I think even if we disagree on what is true and isn't true, I think that we could see how their policies worked. Because there is truth about how Rome operated within the Bible itself. Atul Jaitley becoming a lore master. In the time of TNG, being militaristic is an evil act. Yes. Can't just say that, though, so have to make them racists, too? Okay. Fair enough. Caesar did nothing wrong. Caesar didn't do nothing. Hashtag didn't do nothing. On that topic, completely off topic, but what was her name? Dindu? From the Skeptic Sphere or whatever, when all those skeptics misled people. Exactly what said she was going to do. She created this program. It wasn't a sophisticated AI. They helped her develop it, but it was supposed to be everybody was anonymous or whatever. And then completely used that, sold it off, and made a ton of money. Oh my God. Completely. Did Rome do more harm than good? Okay, well, we'll go off topic on that, and then we'll probably end it. Did Rome do more harm than good? Ultimately, given that most of the technologies of Rome were washed away and forgotten, I would say they did do more harm than good. Now, assuming that those technologies had stayed, it'd probably be 50-50, in my opinion. I enjoy... I'm not a historian, nor do I have a degree, like I think Tripp said he does, but I enjoy watching documentaries on that. And they did a lot of... I think they added to it, in my opinion. Until everything was wiped away, and then it didn't matter. It all went to hell. So it didn't matter anyway. At all. Hey man, good to see you tonight. Sorry about the comment on your Ambassador class video. What, Ozpin, I'm not sure what you're talking about, buddy. Obviously, if the comment was bad, it didn't impact me negatively. Also, it depends a little on when in Rome. Are we talking about early Republic or late Empire? My point when it comes to Rome is that everything was lost, so it doesn't matter when. Admiral Bayfire, I'm sadly a part of a fleet already, but does yours accept our mod invites? Of course we do. I would agree with Mr. Londell J. To say whether Rome did more harm than good is a mixed bag. I don't want to get into this because Anti-Tracker is just going to misquote me, but when you look at Germany during World War I and World War II, they had some massive advancements. Germany in World War II had the progenitors of the drone. Think about that. World War II, they had what would ultimately become drones. It's kind of insane. If Germany hadn't been just taken over by complete evil, the massive amount of knowledge and power and Germany, I think, would be the world power now. Would be the United States, if not better, had they not fallen to evil, to the Nazis. Yeah, this is going down a road I don't think we want to go down. I think there's a lot of the fall of Rome and then going into the Dark Ages and looking at the advancements of the Church is an interesting thing, because I think the Church to a degree did a lot to continue to push for knowledge, but I don't want to get out. The British had what ultimately became the computer. They did. It's difficult to say. They did a lot of good, but also a lot of harm. But also view it in the context of others of the time. I'm not sure who we're talking about now. It was called the V1. It was called the V... Well, I don't know. I forget what it was called. I just think it's really interesting. They even... you guys should look at... Hold on. What is it called? Netflix... German war machines, I think, maybe? Nazi mega weapons. If you guys have Netflix, go to Nazi mega weapons. The just crazy ingenuity, the insane amount of intelligence and what they did was just insane. It was very interesting because a lot of intelligent people. It's really sad in a way, in my opinion. The Allies tried using bombs that were guided by a pigeon. Okay. All right, guys. I think we are going to end it there. If you're watching this, don't forget to rate, comment, and subscribe. If you haven't seen it yet, or if you haven't, go to twitch.tv/Lore Reloaded. I'll actually be going live over there in a few minutes. And we will be playing Star Trek Online, continuing the Victory is Life DLC. Probably have people join. And Fleet first, but if not enough Fleet people, whoever wants to join. But yeah, so don't forget to rate, comment, and subscribe. Guys, I'm going to see you on the next Lore Reloaded.